Hello, how are you? In the two previous modules, we discussed the basic concepts and theoretical backgrounds of community-based language learning. And in the module this week, we will be talking about project-based learning, or PBL. PBL is considered the teaching approach of the 21st century and is the core in any community-based language learning programs. There are 3 mini-lectures in the module, which are 1. What is project-based learning? 2. Why should we use project-based learning? And 3. How can project-based learning be employed in EFL classes? Mini-lecture 1 will deal with the foundations of project-based learning, or in other words, we are going to find out answers to the question such as what project-based learning is, what differences there are between project-based learning and problem-based learning, or how we use project-based learning in community-based language learning programs. Later, in mini-lecture 2, we will be discovering the theoretical backgrounds of project-based learning, as well as common characteristics of project-based learning. Importantly, also in this lecture, I will be discussing with you the reason why teachers and educators around the world have been using project-based learning in their school and classes. Last, but by no means the least important, is how languages in general can be learned and how language learning can be promoted through project-based learning, which will be discussed in the 3rd mini-lectures. Remember that there will be a quiz and task following the module, and you can start doing them after each mini-lectures, or you can wait till you finish all the 3 lectures. Also, in order to understand the concepts discussed in the mini-lectures, you can refer back to the pre-reading materials or the extra resources. Mini-lectures number 1. What? In brief, these mini-lectures will deal with the foundations of project-based learning, or in other words, we are going to find out answer to the question such as what project-based learning PBL is, what differences there are between PBL and problem-based learning, or how we use PBL in community-based language learning programs. So, what exactly is project-based learning? We will break this part into 4 main points. 1. Projects. 2. Project-based learning, or PBL. 3. Differences between projects and PBL. And 4. Project-based learning in the community. 1.1 Projects. According to Patty in 1996, a project is a task or a series of tasks that people should fulfill individually or in groups. Students can often decide themselves how, where, when, and in what order they will do the task. Previously, in 1991, Hammer defined a project as a multi-skill activity focusing on topics or themes rather than on specific language targets, which provides students with opportunities to recycle known language and skill in a relatively natural context. Hammer also noted that a project should involve investigations, reporting, commitment, and dedication from students. And the most important thing here is the end product. Boss and Cross in 2007 defines a project as an authentic task which serves as a frame for learning and engages new kinds of learning community. 1.2 Project-based learning. Project-based learning, or PBL, is a teaching method in which students gain knowledge and skill by working for an extended periods of time to investigate and respond to an authentic, engaging, and complex question, problems, or challenge. Project-based learning is a dynamic classroom approach in which students actively explore real-world problems and challenges and acquire a deeper knowledge, according to Edutopia. According to Cross and Boss in 2013, project-based learning, or PBL, deal with real-world concerns, is personalized, dealing with the issue in students' own lives, causes them to inquire, help students learn together from one another. Their learning is meaningful to people beyond school, affects students personally by what they learn. 1.3 Differences between projects and project-based learning. There is a difference between projects and project-based learning. Primarily, that project-based learning is about the process, and projects are about the products that comes at the end. Project-based learning often requires students not simply to collect resources, organize work, and manage long-term activity, but also to collaborate, design, revise, and share their ideas and experiences with authentic audiences and supportive peer groups. 1.4 Project-based learning in the community. In the 21st century, project-based learning has been more community engaged by solving more of the real-world problems in the community in which students are living, involving most of the people in the community, such as parents, experts, professionals. By exposing more to the community, many of the projects in project-based learning are now more like community-based learning projects. 2. Types of project-based learning. There are 3 types of project-based learning, namely Type 1, challenge-based learning or problem-based learning. Type 2, place-based education, and Type 3, activity-based learning. Type 1, challenge-based learning or problem-based learning, is an engaging, multidisciplinary approach to teaching and learning that encourages students to leverage the technology they use in their daily lives to solve real-world problems through efforts in their homes, school, and community. It is fundamentally a rebranded version of problem-based learning in that both have finding solutions to the problems over a period of time as their structures. Type 2, place-based education, immerses students in local heritage, cultures, landscapes, opportunities, and experiences. Uses this as a foundation for the studies of language arts, mathematics, social study, science, and other subjects across the curriculums, and emphasizes learning through participation in service projects for the local school and/or community. Technically, one could learn through a place-based education and not do projects at all. But the ideas of performing authentic work in intimate community certainly lends itself neatly to project-based learning. Example type 2 can be seen in projects performed in local communities. Type 3, activity-based learning. Activity-based learning takes a kind of constructivist approach. The idea is to let students construct their own meanings or learning through hands-on activity, often with manipulatives and opportunities to experiment. 3. Differences between project-based learning and problem-based learning. In terms of the similarity, there are 5 features that can be listed. Both of them focus on an open-ended question or task, provide authentic applications of content and skill, build 21st century success skill, emphasize student independence and inquiry, are longer and more multifaceted than traditional lesson or assignment. According to John Lammers in 2014, differences between project-based learning and problem-based learning can be summarized as follows. Project-based learning involves multi-subject, while problem-based learning only involves single subjects. Project-based learning is lengthy. However, problem-based learning is shorter. Project-based learning follows general, variously namely steps, whereas problem-based learning follows specific, traditional prescribed steps. While project-based learning includes the creation of a product or performance, problem-based learning often results in tangible products or proposed solutions. Finally, project-based learning uses scenario, often involve real world, but in contrast, problem-based learning uses case study or fictitious scenarios. That is the end of the first mini lectures in Module 3. Thank you for watching.
Hello and welcome to Teachings in Education, Project-Based Learning. Capture your students' attention with real-world problem. Project-based learning is often abbreviated to the acronym PBL, which will be used throughout the video. So, why should educators use PBL in their classroom? Projects are often assessed through presentations. Having students present more often helps students develop better communication skills. Many times, project assignments allow students to work with their hands and complete tasks. It's important for them to have developed some of these 21st century life skills. Projects are assigned as group activities. Being able to work with others is a necessary component of countless fields of work. PBL really comes in handy for those situations where students are just plain old bored of lectures. The best part of PBL is that it increases student engagement. Students will actually enjoy working on these projects and be much more pleasant while working. Who is PBL meant for? Now, it can be used for any student. However, it is most effective on certain types of students. At-risk students benefit the most from project-based learning. These students obviously struggle with typical classroom learning. PBL can be used for many different classes, but PBL is most prevalent in social studies, science classes, and art classes as well. One common misconception is that project-based learning is only meant for upper grade level courses. However, PBL may be incorporated from grades kindergarten through 12th grade. How to implement PBL in our classroom. Every class project should begin with a driving question that is specifically aligned to a learning goal. The level of complexity of the driving question should be appropriate for the type of students in the classroom. The next step for implementation is the inquiry process. Students should apply learned knowledge, ask and answer critical thinking questions, and locate resources. In the next step, students find a solution to the driving question. Here is where students solve the problems, oftentimes with creations, models, and presentations. And the last step is to allow students to make their projects available to the public, to give students a voice. Now that we have done all this talking about PBL, let's take a look at some classroom examples. Here are a few of my personal creations that I am very proud of. This is a project where I asked students to build a model of the Titanic and examine the ways the ship could have been built much better. It is a 6th grade social studies project and includes reasoning, writing, and research. The following project asked students to find the proper measurements and create a scale frame of a 2-bedroom hip model house. It was for a 12th grade math analysis course. And the last project asked students to convert from feet to inches and use the measurements to paint and create a miniature basketball court. It was actually used for an at-risk Algebra 1 course. Right now, I would just like to say thank you for your time, and please subscribe to the channel